The codes. Bart claims that his 5 codes resist reconstitution, that they escape any effort to chart their activities. In spite of that assertion, he later provides a quite definitive map of the hermeneutic code, indicating not only its constituent parts but the rough order in which they generally appear. He also gives a rather explicit account of the semic code. Bart's reluctance, similarly, to systematize the symbolic, proiretic, and cultural codes, as well as disclaimers of the kind just mentioned, can be attributed to his desire to preserve at all costs the irreducibility of the classic text to any absolute meaning. His concentration in S-Ed on coding operations may seem somewhat at odds with the impulse to avoid systematization. But he sees in the stratification of the textual field the possibility for an even ever greater complexity of signifying transactions, a kind of jamming of the interpretive machine so as to prevent transcendental meaning from emerging. The codes enumerated by Bart would seem capable of invading the classic text on multiple levels, ranging from individual signifiers to larger syntactic and narrative constructions. The semic code, which functions to define character and place, relies upon the specificity of the proper name for its central term. However, the attributes which it clusters around that name may be conveyed either through adjectives or through larger conceptual formations, like metaphor and metonymy. Similarly, the hermeneutic code, which assumes responsibility for the formulation and resolution of enigmas, finds expression through half-sentences, questions, and silences, as well as through narrative delay or equivocation. The proiretic or action code determines not only narrative but syntactic progression. In an analogous fashion, the symbolic code generates rhetorical antitheses, along with the oppositions which structure major conflicts within the fiction. Finally, the cultural codes organize linguistic segments of novels, short stories, and poems in the form of proverbial statements and commonplaces. But they also dictate the range of possible narratives, character types, and conflicts, as well as the sorts of knowledge likely to be repressed, and the conditions under which that knowledge will ultimately be divulged. While there is a good deal of interaction between all 5 codes, the cultural codes extend their influence farthest. Indeed, in many classic texts, a single powerful cultural code subordinates the proiretic, semic, symbolic, and hermeneutic activities.